What role can the city play in supporting those most vulnerable and needy families that currently are having services taken away from them?
When I was on the school board, I played a major role in expanding child development centers. So when those state cuts came down, I think I cried, literally. The city of Oakland has as one of its 9 goals that I don't think people talk about is universal preschool. And so I always have delighted that that was one of our 9 goals, and I'm always sorry we don't talk about it more. Between Head Start and the child development centers, we were actually, compared to other cities, had a lot of preschool coverage, but I think that's not enough. I think what you're talking about is 0 to 5, and so I'd like to go back and start with that, because clearly the immediate fight will be just preserving what we have, but if we're going to change the whole way that we think about this, a lot of you know that Oakland is one of the cities that's trying to vie for one of the Obama Promise Grants, which is somewhat based on Jeff Canada's Harlem Kid Zone idea. And so I think you do start with 0. What is great about that program is its great documentation of how starting with pregnant teen moms and children under 3 in their baby college outreach program has made, I think, the critical difference in his project. For those of you who don't know about the Harlem Kid Zone, it started as 1 block. It's now 100 blocks in Harlem. They have made the kids that are involved, because of the intensity of effort and the continuity of effort and being able to take care of the whole family, that they've made some amazing gains. And I might get them a little off, but basically they knock on doors just like I am running for mayor, and they try to find everyone who has a child under 3 or who is pregnant. And they try to get them into what they call their baby college. They try to get them into parent education programs, and it's 9 sessions, and the name of his book is Whatever It Takes, and it comes from this program because they'll do anything to get those young mothers and those families involved in this program. They will pick them up, they'll feed their kids, they have this lottery where it's usually about 12 people per class. 2 of them will get their rent paid free for 3 months, and that's no small thing in New York. And they run out and try to find the dads if the dads are not involved in the family, and try to bring everyone together. And they have basic fundamental discussions about raising children and what works, what doesn't work. And when I was in Harlem, what really struck me was I thought about a young child that had been beaten to death in my district the first year I was a council member, a little boy named Cha-Cha. His dad was frustrated that he didn't know the alphabet, and he was only 2 and a half. He literally beat this child to death over a week period. And I thought, if he'd been in this class, you know, he first of all would have known that boys are sometimes a little slower in spatial relations. It would be okay for the kid not to know his alphabet, maybe up to 4 years old. And more importantly, there's a wonderful session that a lot of the kids or young parents who are in it talk about what's the difference between discipline and punishment. And what is it that you want to do for your kids? So I'm going a little longer. But the point is that that kind of strategy that deals with the whole family, that deals with a neighborhood is absolutely critical. And that then making sure that preschool is available is critical. And the funding is very tough. A lot of it comes from the state and federal level. Luckily, Head Start stopped cutting. And one of the things I've tried to do while I was on the city council is protect the city portion of Head Start. And so when the feds cut under the Bush administration, we actually spent general fund dollars to keep our Head Start program going. Luckily now that I have to cut, the Obama administration's actually increased that funding, and we've been able to take back those general fund dollars. But we're going to have to, I think new and creative ways to do the 0 to 3 and to do the preschool program. And so I'm just going to talk about one idea. One of the ideas that I've been thinking about for preschools is at least it's what I've used in more working class neighborhoods, but I think it could be replicated in other parts of the city, at least minimally to get some play date meetings on the city's park and rec playgrounds and the after-school centers, where parents who maybe not be in a formal program, but what we used to do in the Glenview area to try to get people to consider the public schools is invite all the parents for, I think it was the third Saturday of the month, to come and have a play date at the school, and we would do some parent education there, and we try to get parents to know each other and support each other before they got into the public schools, and then we tried to use that group then to get them to have enough confidence if they all went to the public schools that the school would be stronger and that they would have a great experience.
I absolutely agree that that kind of integrated approach to early childhood education and care is really important. Unfortunately, Oakland actually found out this week that they didn't get the Promise Grant. So in absence of that, what are some strategies specifically that the city can do?
Well, first of all, let me just respond on the Promise Grant. I gotta be honest, I didn't think we'd have a strong chance because I didn't think we were united enough. And right. You had to have a much more united application in such a competitive grant. On the other hand, you know, I'm a member of the Youth Ventures of the Safe Passages Board, which is it's been a long-standing coalition started with a Robert Wood Johnson grant, where city council members, school board members, and county supervisors and our top staff have been meeting together. And a lot of the early violent prevention programs were piloted out of Safe Passages. We got early grants, and then the things that are in Measure Y, a lot of those things were piloted then. We've made somewhat of a commitment to each other that maybe we can't do it to the extent we would have with the Promise Grant, but that somewhere, some neighborhood, we each have enough flexibility that we need to pilot that kind of program that we do the 0 to 3 somewhere. Maybe it's going to be smaller areas than we thought, but in East or West Oakland, 2 small pilot areas. Remember, Canada started with 1 block, so maybe we'll start with 10. I don't know. But I think it's worth doing and it's worth trying, so we should do that. Going back to preschool, it's a very expensive program and it's very going to be difficult. So one of the first things I'd like to do is make sure that we have a discussion between the city and the schools and then other providers, and to see are there things that we could do to stretch our current dollars? Are there other resources that maybe we could spend in a different way? Those of you who worked with me know that I like to pull everybody together with a problem. So when it was truancy, I got everybody who did truancy. When it was sexually exploited minors, we got everybody who touched that issue. I think that's, if I become mayor, that's what you're going to see, that I'm not going to be afraid of just, okay, let's all get together. Let's talk about this. Let's see what we can do. And so this, to me, is something that's very close to my heart. If I get to become mayor, I can see pulling together a coalition along this issue.
So what are some of your ideas, as mayor, what can we do to, particularly OUSD?
Well, I think you should have Sandra Swanson here. Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is that both I thought it was a mistake. We're under really desperate times, and I don't know, some of you are so young in this room. When I started on the school board, I thought that we'd gotten about as worse as we could be. We were like 46th in the country now. I think we're only above Mississippi in terms of how much we spend per pupil nationally. And so I've been campaigning door to door, and I said, okay, even if you don't vote for any of the city measures, you got to vote for the school measures, because the schools have never been as poorly funded as they are now. And so the school board, first of all, the state legislature, basically started to allow this cannibalization, from what I can understand, by getting rid of all the special funds and basically giving school boards the option to cannibalize child development programs and adult ed to save their core basic education programs. And I don't think that was ever the intent, because people knew that would happen, because for school board members, if you can't have your bottom classrooms filled, that's a real problem. And I think that we need to get back to protect those special populations, the preschool population. And quite frankly, the adult ed population is the only place, one of the few places where kids who drop out of the schools have a chance to get their GED. And that's so critical. And another role that I feel as a city council member is that adult ed was also fulfilling a lot of the senior programs that they were basically helping in a lot of the senior centers and a lot of the rec centers, giving seniors new skills to age healthfully. And it's going to have a massive impact on the health and the care of the senior population. So you're hitting the kids who need it. And then and in terms of another tie, I think 40% of the kids in Oakland Public Schools have a parent who doesn't speak English. And the whole adult ed program was supporting English classes for immigrants and citizenship classes. So we feel, and the people in this room know, that if we can't take care of the whole family and can't engage the whole family, that it's hard then to help the kids, that you have to help the whole family to help the kids. So having adult ed cut is really bad. There's not a lot that the city can do in direct funding, so I'm not going to lie about that. Most of this funding that we talk about, millions of dollars, it comes from the state level. What I think we can do is to make sure that where we can help reduce the cost and where we can collaborate. So for instance, as I said, a lot of the adult ed programs were already happening in either our senior centers or happening in our park and rec centers. And and over the years, as adult ed got cut, I tried to negotiate more places where the adult ed could come rent-free to either one of our senior programs or to our parks and rec programs and use our facilities and not have to worry about that and spend all their money on teachers. I think those are the kinds of things that the city can do, try to reduce their facility costs. And in some cases, with the adult ed cuts, we actually hired some of the adult ed teachers and let them work on an hourly rate so they could continue the program. So sometimes the seniors could pay $1 or $2 and at least keep those programs going. And so we've tried really hard to do that. On preschool, again, I think that we'll have to look at that. I think it will have a very hard time replacing a full program, but I'm certainly willing, like I said, to pull together our Head Start staff, our Park and Rec staff, the district's preschool staff, and look at what is it that we can do to maximize our current dollars and collectively fight for more dollars or try to get an innovative way to fund some of these programs.